it's 2026 and you're tired of paying your landlord's mortgage and you're a veteran trying to figure out what you need to do. Let's really dive into this because I am a veteran myself. I never got a class on my VA home loan. Nobody told me what I could or couldn't do with my VA home loan. It was extremely frustrating. And my story is I bought a home when I was in the military. I sat on that home. I still own it to this day, almost 10 years later. Now it's worth over $200,000. And I own multiple homes. This isn't the only home, but this is just a great scenario of what happens when you can leverage your benefits earned through service and put it to use for you. Because at the end of the day, either you're paying your mortgage or you're paying your landlord's mortgage, or worse, you're giving it to those on-post housing communities if you're still in the military. So let's dive in on how you can use your VA loan in 2026 to personally leverage the best benefit that you earn through your service. There's the GI Bill, there's this, there's that, but I may be a little bit biased and say that the VA home loan is the best benefit out there. So let's dive into this. What is the VA home loan? So after World War II, the VA home loan was created to give returning GIs an opportunity to get that piece of the American dream that they just fought and bled for, all right? This allows you to purchase a home with no money down. It's also going to save you money monthly when we compare this to a conventional loan or FHA loan, because you don't have any monthly mortgage insurance or private mortgage insurance. This is tacked on to FHA loans, conventional loans, and things as well like that. What this does, it's going to save you money monthly, like I said, helping you afford more, because that private mortgage insurance, what a lot of people don't know, it doesn't benefit the civilian home buyer leveraging an FHA loan. It benefits the bank, because if you foreclose on it, that's essentially what the bank is collecting to recoup some of that money. You don't have to worry about this crap on your VA loan. The other big benefit is that you're going to have lower interest rates, right? It could be anywhere from 0.5% lower compared to conventional, maybe a little bit more, just depends on your credit score. So no private mortgage insurance, no money down is also another big one, and lower interest rates here, all right? So these are the three big benefits that you need to know when you want to leverage your VA loan. Now, kind of diving into it, I get this question a lot, or I hear this shit all the time, like, oh, I was denied by the VA, or the VA said I can't use my VA loan, and yada, yada, yada. So I just want to make some things very clear. The VA has nothing to do with issuing your loan, okay? What's probably happening is you're hopping on Google, typing in VA lender, calling that first 1-800 number, who ironically has veteran in their name, and they're acting like they're the VA. So I just want to make this very clear. The VA has nothing to do with your home loan. What they do is they give lenders like myself and other financial institutions a set of guidelines and rules, just like your FM, your TC, whatever you want to call it, depending what branch you were in, right? Your rules and regulations. And financial institutions have to follow that. They can add to, but they cannot take away what the VA has published. So what do I mean by that? A lot of veterans are told, hey, I was denied because I didn't have a specific credit score, 620, 640, 580, whatever the case may be, right? But when you look at the VA handbook, it specifically states there is no minimum credit score requirement. So what happens? Why are these people being denied when there is no minimum credit score requirement? Well, it's pretty easy to say here that what happens is that there's financial institutions that have what we call an overlay. An overlay is an additional rule in conjunction with the VA guideline. The VA may say that there is no minimum credit score, but what they may say is, hey, that's great, but our bank is going to impose a 620. If you don't have a 620, we're going to deny any loan. We don't want that risk. The way that loans are basically manufactured is all based on risk. Some banks view if you don't have a 620, you are a high risk to them. They don't want to do your loan. Now, this is why it's extremely important to pick the right lender. What do you need to look for in a lender? One, those 1-800 numbers do not have your best interest in mind. A lot of those companies have zero affiliation. Let me rephrase that. Those companies do not have any affiliation with the military. They're not backed by the military. There's nothing to do other than they may have a branch or something to do with that in their name, and they spend the most on Google. So when you go on Google and you type VA loans, you see all these things pop up and you're like, oh, damn, I got to call this. They're number one. But that just means they're spending the most on Google. It doesn't mean they have your best interest. So what happens is that you want to find a good lender that, one, knows the VA loan home program. Two, I would prefer if they have some kind of military experience. That way they actually understand what you're going through, whether you're in the military, PCS and ETS and whatever the case may be, right? You want to be able to relate with that person. And the reason why I say this is the average loan officer in America only does 2 VA transactions a year, when people like myself do freaking 50, 100. There's people who do way more than that out there, all right? So get yourself with a trusted, reputable lender that understands the military and how this program works. A lot of the horror stories that you hear of military families, like, hey, this fell through, something happened, it's because they went with somebody who had no idea what the frick they were doing, okay? So it's extremely important that you pick the right lender. My team and I can help nationwide if you are looking for somebody, and we can also get you partnered with a trusted realtor. This is extremely important when you're trying to use your VA loan. You don't want just any realtor. According to a statistic last year in 2025, the average realtor did not even close one home. So I want to say that again. Over 75% of realtors in 2025 did not even sell one home. Why is this so important? Why am I harping on this? When it comes to the biggest transaction of your life, you don't want somebody who does this part-time or maybe hasn't even sold a home in years. Just because that's your brother's cousin, sister's uncle, or whatever the case may be, and they're licensed, you don't want to deal with that crap. You want somebody who has experience. And if you want to get connected with somebody who has experience, we have a network covering all 50 states to where we can get you squared away. Now, the next step after that is getting pre-approved. You want to get pre-approved with a lender like myself. That way you know exactly what you're eligible for. That way you're not getting into a home that maybe the monthly payment's too high or you're window shopping out of your pre-approval range. I always like to say, just because we can get you pre-approved for $1 million home does not mean that you really want the payment that comes with $1 million home. So it's really important to dial in your budget. Once you know your budget, that's when you can cut loose with your realtor and go house shop and see as many homes as you want. And once you submit that offer and your offer is accepted, this is the term that we call going under contract. Now, some of the fees associated with your home buying process are going to be earnest money. I like to compare earnest money like a security deposit. If you've ever gotten an apartment or anything like that, it's extremely similar to that, right? The rule of thumb for earnest money, it can be, in the most conservative aspect, up to 1% of the sales price. So if you're buying a home for $300,000, your earnest money can be $3,000. Now, with that being said, earnest money is not a fee paid to the seller. It's not paid, to the builder, whatever the case may be. And I'll dive into another video explaining exactly how earnest money works, but this is just one of the fees you may have to be concerned about. Then there's also a home inspection fee. This is getting into the nitty gritty of that home. They're checking the HVAC, the electrical, the roof, all those things to make sure everything's fine. Then you have your appraisal. They are determining the market value of the home. We're making sure that you're paying a fair price for the home, right? You're not overpaying for a home. The seller wants more than what it's actually worth. Crap like this, okay? Now, since we collect everything up front, it makes your underwriting process, AKA your approval process, extremely easier. Because what happens is a lot of people call these 1-800 lenders. They get a pre-approval and like, hey, I didn't need to submit all this stuff. And it's very basic stuff. Your pay stubs, your bank statements, your W-2s, your driver's license, right? These are things just verifying you are who you are, you make as much as you say you did in the application, and you have as much saved as you mentioned in the application. If your lender did not do those 3 things, is that pre-approval letter you got, I'm just gonna say, is absolutely worthless. And you need to fire that lender and find somebody else who actually is gonna do their job. Because what happens is, and this is where you hear the horror stories, they didn't verify the income, they didn't verify the assets, they didn't verify anything in that application, and then it does happen throughout the process. We have to verify before we hand you hundreds of thousands of dollars for your home loan. And if there's any issues with that and we're past the dates and deadlines in your contract, you're gonna lose thousands of dollars. So this is why it is extremely important to get connected with the right people when it comes down to the biggest purchase of your life. If you like this education and information, be sure to like and subscribe. I'm going to continue to give out the education information we didn't receive when we were in the military. Again, my name is Zach. Thank you so much and have a great day.